There's no easy way to hear. And all the memories you love to bring. With all the things that you hate to scream. So tell me, hollow on the inside, there's no trying to hide from this monster inside me. So if you try to criticize me, like the world defines me, it is what I have become.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Browns Beat podcast. My name is Derek Frisbee, and I am here with my co-host. Who might you be, sir?
I'm your man. I'm Tristan. Wow. Oh, this is gonna be a jolt of lightning for us, isn't it, Derek?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because off the rip here, I told Tristan I never really, and it's my own fault. Like, we used to kind of rotate who does the intros, and I realized I haven't done an intro in a long time, and I wanted to do it tonight because I got to give the warning right off the bat here. You know, my uncle one time told me early on into doing all this, he's like, you got to stop with the ranting. You got to stop with, I know you get mad and you get frustrated, you got to stop. You're smart, do breakdowns and that stuff. And I really thought about that, and I would think it's fair to say I've tamed from the beginning. You know, I think that's fair. But Tristan, I wanted to do this intro tonight to give the people out here a warning, because let me tell you, we don't have a whole lot of time tonight. We're going to try to do this here quick. But Tristan, to put it as frankly as I can put it, I am pissed. I am pissed in many, many ways. And if you, for whatever reason, are somebody who's been watching me before I even met Tristan, and you know how frustrated I can get, let me tell you, tonight might be a comeback, because boy, I'm pissed. And I have a lot that I would like to get off my chest. I'll just put it like that. So, with that being said, Tristan, before we get into anything else, how are you doing, sir? We talked a little bit before we hit record.
Yeah.
I know what's going on for you, but just tell the people why you're even more frustrated.
Oh yeah, it's school. Assignments galore. I just spent like 6 hours today on a singular paper, and so it has really prepped me for the calming presence of the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. I mean, Derek, I'll say this off rip. I don't think I'm gonna get as aggressive as you will with this, but at the same time, if I know what's coming, which again, we do not script these beforehand, I don't know what this man is about to say. But if it's anything like how I think you're going to, I think that I will be the voice of reason. But I mean, you're gonna have valid reasons, so we'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, Tristan, there's a lot to get into here. By the way, before we even get going into any of this, don't let me forget, because I have things written down here. Before the end of this podcast, we have got to say something about the Tyson Campbell trade, because that was quietly something that happened, obviously, right after we talked about the Joe Flacco trade. We haven't been able to discuss it. I have some thoughts on that as well, so don't let me forget. But anyway, so, all right, everybody. Joe Flacco last night leads the Cincinnati Bengals to a win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Yes, it was a home game for the Bengals. Yes, it was prime time. All these AFC North games in these situations are competitive. But, Tristan, Joe Flacco just got over to Cincinnati, week 2, I believe, of him being there. And Joe Flacco goes 31 of 47, 342 yards, and 3 touchdowns against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The same Pittsburgh Steelers team/defense that we just saw. We just saw. Oh, and by the way, Joe Flacco was your starting quarterback this year. Okay. Tristan, you go first, because if not, I'm just going to rant.
All right.
So go ahead.
Well, let me start by saying this. I know it's very clear what your take's going to be. You're very pissed about this, which, I mean, I get why fans are. When you take a step back and you look at it, like, yes, like, he was our number one quarterback. He ended up getting traded to a division rival for a pick swap, essentially, a fifth and a sixth. And he goes out and he absolutely whoops up on a defense that we couldn't get a touchdown on. And yes, all of that is true, and it is frustrating. I think that there's some people who are upset and angry about the Joe Flacco trade side of it, and that's not it for me. Joe Flacco, you made the decision, and rightfully so, because we had been talking about this up to this point, Derek, that Joe Flacco could not start games anymore for us because it just didn't give us anything. And so for people who are criticizing the trade aspect of it, I think that's the wrong take. Even if you say, well, you can't trade him to a divisional opponent. Number one, Derek, neither one of us came to this season saying we're going to compete for the division. We're going to compete to get into the playoffs. We're going to be a playoff team. We knew what this was coming in. This was going to be hopefully something sticks, but odds are we're not making playoffs. We're the only contending we're doing is for first overall. And so for me, I don't see it as a bad thing to trade Joe to the Bengals, because keep in mind, Joe was sitting around and likely being in a position where he was never going to start another game at quarterback in the NFL ever again. And the opportunity came up, and the Browns did the right thing towards Joe Flacco. They did the right thing. They traded him, gave him an opportunity to play, and I got to say, it's absolutely hilarious that he torched the hell out of the Steelers after Mike Tomlin's comments. Oh, man, that is so funny. It's peak comedy, that side of it. The more understandable and frustrating approach is, why was it that we couldn't get a touchdown and Joe Flacco just torched the living crap out of that same defense? There are a couple things for me. Number one, we do not have a receiver like Jamar Chase. We do not have a receiver like T. Higgins. Unlike Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, we had drops galore in that last game against the Steelers. There were plenty of plays that could have been made and just drop city. Drop. Another thing as well is, as crazy it is to say, at least our offensive tackles are worse than the Bengals. And that's an indictment. Because we both know how terrible that Kansas City offensive line is. It's deserved the torching that it has gotten for years. And ours is just simply not there. It's not even close, in my opinion. But ultimately, yeah, it also comes down to game plan. Derek, I talked to you about, I on this podcast a week ago, I said that if the Browns are going to come out and they're going to be conservative off the rip, then I'm going to torch Kevin Stefanski. And what happened? We came out conservative, and we got ourselves into a position where Dylan Gabriel had to try to throw us back into the game. And it's because he was too late to the party. Like he decided to open the playbook when it was already too late. And then what did the Steelers do? They said, don't give him a touchdown, and you know, they can get into the red zone. We don't care. Get into the red zone. You're not going to score a touchdown, and you're not going to keep up. And that's what happened. So, yeah, for the people that are pissed about that side of things, absolutely, 100% valid. The trade side of things, the hate coming like towards Andrew Berry for that trade and all that nonsense, like that's ridiculous. But I'm excited to see what your take is on this.
Yeah. So, okay, there's a few different routes I think you can take this. I want to start kind of what you touched on, the trade of Joe Flacco in the first place. Not opposed. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I was upset that we traded Joe Flacco. In fact, Tristan, me and you both came on here, and I know I praised it. I can't remember if you did as well.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. So, we both approved the decision to trade Joe Flacco. Why did we approve that decision? Why were we pro trading Joe Flacco? Because it looked as if he had nothing left in the tank. And Tristan, this is where I want to take this. Joe Flacco last week against the Green Bay Packers comes out and he looks serviceable. I wouldn't say he looked good, but he looks serviceable. And I kind of saw that and I was like, okay. Like, I guess it makes sense. Because obviously he's throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and there's weapons there. That makes sense. But he comes out against Pittsburgh on a kind of weird short week situation and puts up the numbers that he does. Tristan, I mean, it's inexcusable why, at one spot 2 weeks prior, you can't do anything. You cannot move the ball whatsoever offensively. And then, a couple weeks later, 3 hours down south, he's putting up 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. It is unreal to me, Tristan, that we are at this point, because when it comes to Flacco himself, I'm not mad that Joe Flacco is gone. In fact, I am happy. Because guess what? We're seeing what we're supposed to see, which is, what do we have? That's what's going on. That's what's going on. It's a what do we have season. So yes, it makes sense to trade Joe Flacco. And no, I'm not happy that the Browns traded him in the division. But guess what? Nobody else was calling for him. Nobody. That is how bad it was with Joe Flacco this go round in Cleveland. That is how bad it was. So when you see what happened last night, you have to look yourself in the mirror, because Tristan, last night was an absolute just burial of the city of Cleveland and the Browns franchise and the fan base, by the way. I mean, Cincinnati fans after the game chanting "Thank you, Cleveland." That's the whole uproar. Everybody's upset, like, oh, you gifted them Joe Flacco, as if it's this bonehead decision to trade him. You're welcome, Cincinnati. I mean, we weren't going to use him anyway. Like, I don't understand. And, Kevin, man, I could really, this is one of those ones I could just go. Kevin clearly was upset that Joe Flacco was traded. Or at least, if upset is not the right word, surprised. He was surprised. And those words came out of his mouth. And Kevin says nothing, ever, about anything. So the fact that he would say that and make it a point to mention it, I took that as pretty telling. I think Kevin Stefanski wanted Joe Flacco here. I think that's safe to say. However, where we're going kind of next, transitioning this, Dylan Gabriel is well known and well documented to be Kevin Stefanski's guy. I believe it was Mary Kay Cabot came out after the draft and said if Dylan Gabriel was 2-3 inches taller, they could have taken him at 2.
Yeah, it was widely reported that of all the quarterbacks in the draft, Cam Ward was their 1 and Dylan Gabriel was their 2.
Yeah. So this whole conversation that is being had amongst the fans, right? Who's to blame? This is what we're going to be talking about here. Who is to blame? Why are we in this position? And Tristan, my thing, and I'll throw it back over to you here in a second because I know I'll keep talking. But Tristan, my thing in this question, who is to blame? Why do the Browns have the 32nd ranked offense in the National Football League? Why? Why is that? I think people have got to take away this party line bullshit where as a fan base we've become either you're a Kevin guy, you're an AB guy, you think both of them suck. The lines have been drawn, and they've been drawn because of Deshaun Watson. That's what it is. However, and this is what I'm getting to here. The blame has to lie somewhere. The Browns, I said it, have the 32nd ranked offense. They're 32nd in separation. They have 17 drops on the year, most in the NFL. And Dylan Gabriel against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tristan. I know this is well known, but I'm going to repeat it because it needs to be said, because it's bullshit that this is what I'm about to read to you. Dylan Gabriel against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 29 of 50 fucking 2. Tristan, 50 fucking 2 passing attempts. 221 yards. No picks, no touchdowns. That's the stat line you got from the quarterback who was their guy. That's what it is. So, Tristan, before I keep rambling, I'm going to ask you the question that I think everybody has a different opinion on. I genuinely believe that. Who's responsible for this offense being the way that it is?
So here's my answer. You kind of touched on it. This all goes back to the Deshaun Watson trade. It does, and that falls on ownership. Ownership is owned up to it that that's their mistake. Now, what has happened since? Listen, everybody has a bit of blame to share. So obviously with Jimmy Haslam, it's well documented, his history. He has he spent cash, and I have on the show given him praise for spending the cash that not a lot of owners are willing to do. But at the same time, we are constantly victims of his decisions, and this has led to it. If we wouldn't have made that Deshaun deal, what happens? Well, I don't know about you, Derek, but the following off season, we were having a discussion where, and I don't know if you remember this or not, I had proposed a question to you, Derek, if we could take back the Deshaun Watson contract and give it to Lamar Jackson, who was a restricted free agent, would you have done it? At the time, I don't know if you remember this or not, you said no, and I said yes. Now, you might just, average viewer out there, you might be thinking, no way. There's no way that would have happened. Lamar, he was a restricted free agent. Ravens would have just offered to match it, and it would have been wraps. Completely different situation because of the guarantees, because of the fact that it was $230 million guaranteed. The moment that contract is signed, $230 million a check for $230 million has to be written to the NFLPA. And that is something that a majority of the owners in the league, no matter how rich they are not able to do. So that's part of it, right? Obviously, the assets that we lost in it, the prospects that we've missed out on because of it. But then let's also go down the next step of the chain with our personnel, people that are in charge of personnel. Andrew Berry, yes, he's had a great draft this year. Fantastic draft. Really happy about it. I'd argue that even some of his past several drafts have been good drafts. But at the same time, the reason why this offense is not good right now, number one, Jerry Jeudy was a miss. As of right now, it is a miss. He is somebody that you and I, Derek, were both really high on. We were happy that he was here. Last year, we saw so much that we liked. He can't catch a damn ball. So I can't. I'm out on him. I'm completely out until he can show me he can catch the football. I'm out. I'm completely out. And I've been so patient with him. I've been more patient than most. And Derek, I know you've been even more patient. But it's run completely dry for me. Isaiah Bond, he's shown some flashes, which is great. But we don't have the personnel to properly utilize him to see what he can do as a deep threat. Additionally, this offensive line, you came into the season with the idea that your two starting offensive tackles were going to be Jack Conklin and Dwan Jones. Jack Conklin, I don't know as though he's even healthy 50% of the time. And Dwan Jones just last season had a nasty injury, and we were going to rely on him to stay healthy. So immediately your top two offensive tackles are off the board. Your options in terms of their backups, Cornelius Lucas, who admittedly at the time we were both a little bit hopeful for, worst offensive tackle in football when he was playing. KT Leviston, not a whole lot better. You made the trade for Cam Robinson, and yes, he's better than our situation that we had before, but he's not perfect. He's been okay. But so in regards to the offensive personnel, Andrew Berry deserves the brunt of that because it's not good enough. It's just simply not. We don't have the weapons available to do what the Cincinnati offense is capable of. It's not possible for us, as much as we would love to say it is. And then finally, coaching. Kevin Stefanski. I just said it. If he was gonna come out and he was gonna play a conservative style of football against this defense, I was gonna lose my mind. And I'm losing it because I refuse to believe that Dylan Gabriel cannot make a throw outside of 15 yards. I refuse to. I know you texted me and said that's all he does, and I agree with you. That's all he's doing. It's not because that's all that he's capable of doing. The reality is that stuff isn't getting schemed open for him further down the field. Or if it is, our offensive line is completely shitting itself. He's missed some stuff. I'll admit that. After that last game, my immediate thought was, wow, I don't really know as though he could have done much else because we had so many drops. We had a lot of stuff that just didn't really look like it was getting open downfield. I didn't get a chance to watch every single snap, but from what I did see, yeah, that's partially true, but also he did miss some stuff. But at the end of the day, we got into that situation where our quarterback had to throw 52 times because our play caller, our head coach, completely, yet again, mismanaged the situation. We're watching Joe Flacco absolutely tear apart that Steelers secondary, and it's because he's able to throw downfield. He's able to throw downfield and hit those throws. He has the time to hit those throws. It's well schemed for him to hit those throws, and he's got the playmakers to hit those throws. Like Jamar Chase, like Derek, I don't think if you combine all of Jerry Jeudy's stats up to today, they would have matched what Jamar Chase did last night. And that's the difference between our number one and their number one. Hell, their number two. Their number two is able to produce better stats than our number one. And you know me, Derek, I have been patient with this wide receiver room. I have constantly talked about how I don't really think it's as big of a need. And I felt that way because I thought that our guys in that room were better than they are. And listen, that's a complete misvaluation on my end. And I'll take the blame for that, but they aren't good enough. And now we're in a situation where, honestly, Derek, I feel like I can't even tell you what Dylan Gabriel is. I can't, because what have we been able to see that has shown us, oh, he can do this at a great NFL level outside of just hitting his checkdowns and being on time? Like, we haven't been able to see his arm talent down the field. We haven't been able to see his mobility, running outside of the pocket, making runs for first downs. Like, I can only think of like maybe 2 or 3 plays that I've seen either of those things. Like, we haven't had a chance to see him as a playmaker. We've seen him as a game manager, and yeah, he's fine, but it sucks if the game script sucks. So this is where my frustration is, Derek, and I'm with you, is Kev has completely lost it when it comes to playing so conservative. It's so ridiculous. It's so insane. And if you were to tell me, Derek, that you feel as though that Kevin Stefanski should be fired, I can't sit here and say that I think you're wrong. I'm not calling for it, but I can't sit here and say that you're wrong. And the reason for that is as simple as this. When we played the Minnesota Vikings, Derek, Carson Wentz was actually going down the field and was actually taking our defense and at moments stuffing them in a locker. And it's not because Carson Wentz is an amazing quarterback. It's because his offense is schemed to be really good, and he's got the playmakers. Outside of the 2 fumbles, the 2 turnovers, had those not have occurred, we would have lost by a lot more against Minnesota. We didn't deserve to win that game. And yet again, it was what killed us. It was the fact that we were too conservative. So, yeah. It's so hard to watch this team, man. It's a shame.
Yeah. It's a sorry excuse of football. I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And Tristan, it's tough because the question that's being asked, who's to blame, right? How did we get here? People, you got to understand, 2 things can be true. Kevin Stefanski can be doing a shit job as a head coach. He can be doing a shit job as an offensive coordinator. And Andrew Berry has done a terrible job of getting him resources. Like, both of those things are true. But here's the thing, Tristan. It's a loaded question, because what pisses me off so much, and it gets me every time against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because it's the same song and dance of just, it's just fake. It's fake, and it pisses me off. The Pittsburgh Steelers come out every time the Browns play the Steelers at Heinz Field or Acrisure Stadium, whatever you want to call it now. Who cares? Every single time, it's the same song and dance. It's aggressive on defense from the Steelers. Doesn't matter how good the talent is that they have. It does not matter. They come out and they bully ball you, and the Browns lay down every single time. We lay down, we panic, we fold every time. And I'm not saying it's every time we play the Steelers, because it's not that. The Browns, don't get this twisted as if the Steelers just own the Browns, right? They certainly have. They absolutely have. I'm not denying that. But since Big Ben has been gone, it is not like the Steelers are just this powerhouse that dominates the AFC North and dominates the Browns and dominates the Ravens. It's just not the case. And Tristan, that's what frustrates me as somebody who has a lot of ties to people who are Steelers fans. You know, it's the same song and dance every time. It's the 8 championships we won 50 years ago. And it's like, you know, it just gets frustrating because they're not good. They're not. Like, they win. They have been winning, but they're not like a great team. This is not like a great roster. But they just do things well. And it's the culture, it's the system, it's all of that. And it's just frustrating to me because offensively from Sunday, it was just terrible. I mean, the one weapon you have on offense in Quinshon Judkins, you stop giving him the ball. You don't even give him a chance. I think he ended up with like 30-something rushing yards on the ground. And that's simply because Mike Tomlin absolutely wiped the floor with Kevin Stefanski. Like, it's not even funny. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. And why is this offense so terrible? You said it. We have nothing. I've been pounding the table about the wide receiver position for years. Shout out to G. Bush Project Stockpile. He's been doing it as well. I've been pounding the table for receivers, and year in and year out, we do nothing. And then finally, you go get a guy like Jerry Jeudy, which, listen, I loved him. I wanted us to trade for him for years prior to us trading for him. So I get it. Listen, to me, where I stand with Jerry Jeudy is I don't think he's capable of being wide receiver one. I no longer believe that. However, I still believe he can be a talented wide receiver too. I think he can be in the right situation. The problem with a player like Jerry Jeudy is if he is in a spot where things are dysfunctional and not smooth, he melts down. And you don't want to have players like that on your football team, especially this football team. And that's what's frustrating, Tristan. I don't want to get rid of Jerry Jeudy, but listen, the Browns have got to go get a wide receiver. Like, before the trade deadline, the Cleveland Browns must go get a wide receiver. They have to. And I prefer somebody who's on the younger end and has 2 to 3 years left, right? Somebody who's got upside. One of those type moves.
I know exactly who you're thinking about.
I'm not thinking about anybody.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Keep going.
I'm just saying in general, the Browns have to do this. Why? Because what you said, how can we fairly evaluate Dylan Gabriel? How can you fairly evaluate Shedeur Sanders? How can you fairly evaluate anybody? Right? And I'll be honest with you, Tristan, and this might be harsh, whatever. Personally, I'm done. I don't need to see any more from Dylan. That's just me. He is what I thought he would be, and honestly, he's been a lot worse in some ways. And I don't want to overly judge him because there's that panic factor to what was happening on Sunday and the position you were in. But Tristan, there were some throws that I could have made, and I don't say that as like a joke or to be funny. I'm serious. Like, one throw in particular, it was like a tight end curl. I think it was Fannin, maybe, I don't know, but wide open, and he had time in the pocket, and he had a clear throwing lane. The problem was he was throwing to his right, which, Tristan, I wish I knew I was about to say that because I have a screenshot of a stat about that. Hold on, please hold.
Mm-hmm. You're good.
Okay. Dylan Gabriel throwing to his right. Again, he's a lefty, obviously. 5 of 12. 5 of 12. Dylan Gabriel throwing to his left, 15 of 22. And throwing between the numbers, he is 31 of 46. And that came from UCSS. So there you go. That came from Mikey McNuggets. Not taking credit for that. Anyway, Dylan Gabriel, the height is a problem. If nobody wants to say it, I'll be the one to say it. The height is a problem. And it's obvious when you turn on the film. He's just not, at this point, he is not seeing the field the way he should be. Because he is leaving things on the field. But I want to get back, because I'll ramble, so I want to get back to this point. Wide receivers. The Browns have a bunch of UFL guys and a decent NFL receiver right now. That's what we have. I still have hope for Isaiah Bond. I do. I still have hope for Jeudy, for that matter. But for the love of God, before the trade deadline, the Browns have got to go get a receiver. They have to. Because if you want to fairly evaluate Dylan with however many games he has left, if you want to fairly evaluate Shedeur whenever he gets in there, if he does, you have to have more than what we have right now. And Tristan, I'll go as far as to say the Browns have got to. This is a must. They have got to invest some sort of high draft capital in a wide receiver this draft. It's not optional. They have to. And listen, I don't know why we overthink it. At this point, it writes itself. The Browns need to go draft Carnell Tate. They need to. Andrew Berry has proven that he has not done a great job drafting wide receivers. How about let's go to the pipeline where every single one of them right now has been working, other than Marv, which I still think he'll figure it out.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah. It's hard not to when you're Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
But listen, Ohio State, and I'm not saying this as an Ohio State fan, but look at the last however many years. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jamison Williams, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Mecca Buka. And this has been going on for years and years and years. You know, what Brian Hartline is doing there, and it's not even just Brian Hartline. Shout out to Zach Smith. Shout out to Menace to Sports. Before, this has been a pipeline for years of wide receivers coming out of Ohio State and being productive in the NFL. Hey, Andrew Berry, your job is made for you. I know there's other guys, Tristan. I can't wait to talk about the draft because there's other guys I like. But I thought Ibuka was going to be a solid receiver. He's tearing up the NFL. Go get Carnell Tate. The odds are good.
Yeah. I mean, adding on to that last point, yeah, like when you think of the two schools, there's two that produce wide receivers at an alarmingly high clip. It's Ohio State and it's LSU. And the last time we had an LSU receiver was Odell Beckham, I believe, and Jarvis. Jarvis was too. I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure about that. I knew that they played against each other in high school. That's what it was. I got that confused. But, you know, and we didn't even draft him. Like, so, yeah, it's frustrating when you've had a need at that position for a while, and you refuse to shop at one of the best factories in the world of that type of position. Like, it's ridiculous. In terms of Dylan Gabriel, like, I understand what you're saying, and trust me, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing, I'm seeing too. There's two things. So, do I completely agree with the in the pocket he can't do it? No. And here's why. There was, and you know exactly what I'm talking about here. There was one in particular play from last week where he's in the pocket, he stays in the pocket, he moves up in the pocket, and he's right behind the center, and he makes a throw towards the left sideline. Funny enough, hits Harold Fannin beautifully in stride, hits him right in the hands, beautiful throw, and Fannin drops it. And I've got patience with Harold Fannin. He's got to have it. That's 2 times now where in moments where we've needed him to come up with the ball, he hasn't. But it that to me shows he can do it. He's not in a system that he's able to do it with consistency. Now, will he do it consistently? I don't know. I'll be real. Yeah, but I'm with you, Derek. He's missed some stuff, 100%. So I'm not ready to write him off yet, but I'm not ready to champion him either. I want to make that very clear. But in terms of making that decision to transition to Shedeur, Derek, I'll tell you right now, it would not work. And the reason for that being, it's not because Shedeur is not a better quarterback. We don't know that yet. The reason why I'm saying that, Derek, is because everything that I've seen on tape from Shedeur at college, yes, his offensive line at college was terrible. Part of it was because he held on to the ball for forever, trying to make plays downfield. And it's too soon, at least in my opinion, for us to assume that he's gotten rid of that. And also, he doesn't have the playmakers that he had at college. I mean, especially when we compare it to college-level talent from the Big 12, Derek, I mean, Travis Hunter in the Big 12 is what Jamar Chase is in the NFL. He doesn't have that. His other receiver, Jimmy Horn, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the right name I'm thinking of. I know that there's a few Horns, JC, Jimmy, regardless, but
Jimmy Horn Jr. Yep.
Jimmy Horn Jr. Yes.
South Florida boy.
Yeah, he's at the Panthers now, ain't he?
Yep.
Yeah, see, I know a little ball.
Yeah, LeJohntay Wester, the other guy that I like.
Wester,
Where's he
yes.
go? Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah. Like, he had great weapons, and part of what he was able to do to make it work was he was able to buy a little time, get it to his weapons. This offense is not equipped to do that at all, Derek. So, in my opinion, if you want to do what's best for Shedeur Sanders, I think that it's get a wide receiver and then we'll talk. At that point. But they went out and got a left tackle. Cam Robinson's been okay. But there's instability on the offensive line. And we don't have the guys to properly utilize Shedeur Sanders. That's why, personally, Derek, even if we go into this draft and we have the first overall pick, I could understand us picking quarterback at that position, but I could not understand us leaving the draft or going into next season without getting an elite level left tackle and an elite level or potentially elite level wide receiver, dependable at the minimum. Yeah. Those are the two things. Honestly, I would be fine with us not taking a left tackle if we got those other two positions secured, because then next year we could make a fair evaluation on these guys that are currently here, and then if in that next year's draft, maybe we go for something then. But which we'll talk about quarterbacks, because I will say this, me saying that is absolutely crazy considering this quarterback class, because there are some really, really good prospects that I personally love. But regardless, if you had any of those quarterbacks put into this system, they struggle the same way Dylan Gabriel is. Like, it's the system. The system is the issue. The culture is the issue. The personnel is the issue. And you're not going to fix that by just taking a quarterback. We've seen that before. We've had that same story this whole time.
Yeah, and I think to the point of the question, like, who's to blame? The correct answer, and I'm not saying this because I'm saying this, I'm not saying I'm right, I'm saying this as we as fans won't admit this, but the correct answer is everybody's to blame. Everybody. Top down. Everybody. And Tristan, that leads to the next conversation here, and this is where things get tough for me. Do you even care anymore? Like, as a fan, as somebody who invests their time, their effort, their money, their energy into this team, like, as a fan, do you even care anymore? And the reason why I bring this up, and I want to kind of tie off this point with another question, like, do you even care? Meaning, if this regime were to be changed, where are we at? And I'll say this, Tristan, before I go to you. I've brought it up many times on this program. I've said multiple versions of what I'm about to say before. But it is very frustrating to me that I, at 23 years old, have seen many of people in this fan base that I would call friends pass away. And there have been a lot of people that I've known within this community that are no longer with us for, a multitude of different reasons. And I often think about it from the standpoint of, like, man, they didn't get to see it. They didn't get to see it. And what it is, I don't know. I don't know if that means Super Bowl. I don't know if that means consistent winner. I don't know if that means success. I don't know what it is. I think everybody kind of has their own definition of it. But Tristan, I'm getting to the point where, and they brought this up on Ken and Lima the other day. How do you keep being invested? Because, Tristan, We are in 2025. It has been 5 years since the Browns beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in that playoff game. It has been 7 years, 7 or 8 years, since the Browns drafted Baker Mayfield, which I know nobody wants to hear. But my point in saying all that is it has not been a short period of time. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, Paul DePodesta, the organizational structure as it has been in control for many years now. And yes, the Deshaun Watson trade ruined everything. I understand that, and I want to clarify before I say what I'm about to say. But why, after roughly 5 years or so of Kevin and Andrew Berry being here, are we talking about a 1-5 football team with the consensus understanding that we are in a rebuild, if not a rebuild, a severe retool, and you have an offense that can't pass outside of 15 yards. You have an offense that can't score more than 17 points. You have a terrible offensive line. You have terrible receivers. Your head coach is making terrible decisions, both as a play caller and as a manager of the game. Why? And it's not unfair to ask those questions. So, Tristan, do you care anymore? And part two to that would be tomorrow. I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow, but let's just say hypothetically, end of the year comes out, breaking news, the Cleveland Browns have fired Kevin Stefanski and or Andrew Berry or both. What is your reaction?
Yeah, so to your first question, do I care? I still care. I think I'll always care. But am I letting my am I gonna let my emotions ride that roller coaster anymore? No, I'm not. I after the Flacco experience and then the following year coming out and watching, I mean, difference between last year's offense and this year's offense, but watching, going from that to that, where it was so much excitement, so much pride, to just a waste of time. After that, I've refused to live and die week to week with my emotions with this football team. So I personally, I'm not as emotionally invested as I have been, but I still do care. That being said, how can you get people to care? Make changes, right? Like you mentioned. Get them excited for something. But at the same time, Derek, I know for a lot of people it's exciting, and certainly it'll give us something to talk about. It maybe gives us a jolt of momentum. But Derek, if I get the notification that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry get fired, I won't have a reaction, because the same guy who is always there is still there. You mentioned it. Deshaun Watson, it has completely killed everything for this team. It's killed everything. And whose decision was that? Whose decision was it? Deshaun decided that we weren't the place to be. And then guess who showed up with $230 million fully guaranteed, making it impossible to move off of his contract? Who did that, Derek? Who did it? We know. We know who did it. Who's the guy that stepped in and had us waste a first-round pick on Johnny Manziel? Who was it? Like, this is where personally, all right, you don't think Kevin's good enough, fine. You don't think AB's good enough, fine. You think the analytics side of things need to go and you need football guys in. I disagree with it, but fine. None of it matters unless if that man at the very top is replaced, and he's not. Anytime soon, he's not. I will say this. I have a very, very I haven't talked about this on the podcast, but something I've been talking about with family members who are Browns fans who are kind of in that same boat where they just want everything to be washed and changed. I have this visceral feeling in my gut that if we fire Kevin Stefanski, he's going to go to either Cincinnati or Baltimore, and he's going to win them multiple Super Bowls, and he's going to mop the floor with us every time. And I can't get rid of it. And part of the reason for my feeling that way is because it's a similar way with Baker. As crazy as it sounds, the thought of moving off of Kevin Stefanski is similar to how it feels moving off of Baker. Like, Baker had shown us multiple times during his time here that he was good, but he wasn't consistent, and at the end he was terrible. He was awful. Now, would it have worked out here in Cleveland? Who knows? I'm going to assume probably not, but regardless, like, he's went on and now he's in an MVP conversation, and rightfully so. I can't help but think that a 2-time coach of the year might just be good in another organization. And I know people hate hearing that, but it's objective. It's true. And in those 2 seasons where he won it, he deserved it. He deserved it. And they were impressive coaching jobs. With Andrew Berry, it's a little bit more complicated because he's not won an executive of the year. He hasn't made a deal that's been unbelievable or whatever. I mean, although Mari Cooper deal looks really good right now, or it was really good, I should say. But with him, it's a little bit different because the Deshaun Watson deal kind of got forced onto him. He didn't necessarily make that decision on his own. But additionally, this past offseason, yes, has he completely failed, especially at the offensive tackles? Absolutely. He just absolutely nailed this rookie class. He brought in Malik Collins, who has been a beast. I mean, there was something else I was going to say, but I'm losing it. Oh my gosh. Oh, Myles Garrett's extension. Myles Garrett demanded to get out of Cleveland. Demanded it. Got him to sign an extension that made him the highest paid player, non-quarterback in football. And now he's like number 4, number 5. Makes $7 million a year less than Micah Parsons in the same offseason. The same offseason that he signed that deal. That's looking like incredible business. So this is why I can't necessarily sit here and feel comfortable about moving off of any of these guys because they've done some great stuff in the past. And when they came in, they were young, they were unproven. And I just have a hard time believing that we're going to cut bait with these guys and that's going to be the solution to all of our problems. I refuse it. If anything, we're going to cut bait with them and they're going to move on and they're going to do a Baker Mayfield. You know what? They're both in tandem going to end up going to Cincinnati and they're going to win 5 Super Bowls in a row. And I'm going to want to jump off of like a very tall building. Not actually, I promise. But
take it easy there, cowboy.
But no, like it's going to drive us even more insane. And I can't help but feel that way. And I think I'm justified to feel that way. But Derek, let me know your thoughts. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong, but I do think there are many layers to this onion that we gotta peel. I'll say this: do I care? I'm with you. I don't care from an emotional standpoint as far as like the wins and losses. Like if the Browns lose, am I frustrated? Yes, of course I am. They're my favorite team. I want to win. I want to win football games. I'm tired of losing. Yes, I'm going to get frustrated. But am I going to get pissed? Am I going to be mad? Am I going to come on here and scream and yell if the Browns are competitive and they lose? No. But what I will get on here and get pissed about is the fact that you've had the worst offense in the NFL 2 years in a row, and it looks as if you've done little to nothing to change it. And I understand that we don't exactly have a ton of cap space to be working with, or a ton of draft capital as far as into the off season this past year. But the fact that you can trade a 5th and a 6th or whatever it was to go get Amari Cooper when you did, and you go and you trade a 5th or whatever it was for Judy that we ended up trading, right? The fact that you're the same guy that somehow manages to do that, but yet you go into this year and you're going to look me in the eyes and tell me with a straight face that this wide receiver room is acceptable, right? Mr. Laser Eyes, where's another receiver? Where's a decent receiver? Sorry, we're not playing in the 90s anymore. You can't just run the football, right? It can be like the focal point, but you have to have some sort of threat offensively in the pass game. And Tristan, I could really rip into you if you really wanted to break it down. You could really rip into Andrew Berry, right? When you put all of his drafts on paper, right, and you have the guys who are, what they've done. A lot of these guys aren't even on the team anymore, right? It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into that. It is what it is. That's a later discussion. Kevin Stefanski is a little bit different for me, Tristan, because we've seen Kevin be successful. And I think that needs to be noted. We've seen Kevin Stefanski run his offense at a successful level. We've seen him be, I would say, a good offensive mind in his time in Cleveland. But Tristan, we've also seen just brutal coaching decisions, brutal coaching mistakes, boneheaded things, and that is not what you should be getting from the smart guys, right? The smart guys shouldn't be having mental breakdowns, and these sort of things. And Tristan, it's frustrating because it's like if you told me that Andrew Berry got fired, I'd be like, it makes sense. I mean, I can't argue it. I can't. I can make a defense for him, but I cannot make an argument for not firing him. You know what I mean? I can give you the positives, but I can't tell you that's good enough not to fire him. With Kevin, I can do the same thing, but I Tristan, to me, it would be, I would rather, I don't know who I would rather keep, if that's the question. But I will say this, with Kevin, when a coach loses the locker room, it's over. It's over. And my gut is telling me that he don't have the locker room. He is just a piece on the chessboard right now, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But Tristan, what kind of helps me with this is like, if Kevin Stefanski gets fired, I don't know if he's a head coach immediately, but I think he goes somewhere and he's a damn good coordinator. I think that would be the case.
You won't say it, but I will. He will be a head coach immediately. Immediately.
Okay.
He will be. I'm so confident about that.
I'm not saying it because I disagree with it. I don't think he would be immediately. But what I will say is I do think, similar to probably what will happen with Mike McDaniel. I think Mike McDaniel's probably going to get fired. He's going to go somewhere and be an offensive coordinator. 2 years down the road, they're going to be talking about him in head coaching stuff again. I don't know. That's not the point. But it's hard for me to defend it. You can't. Like, I just can't defend it anymore. And Tristan, we're going to skip the whole quarterback conversation for today because we're already at an hour and we need to wrap up
That's fine.
ASAP. But I'll say this, Tristan, it is very, very, very hard for me to confidently say that I want Kevin Stefanski to have the reins on the potential franchise quarterback for the Browns. That it's to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I even want the dude in the room. And by the way, guess what, people? This is going to be a shock to some of you. That doesn't mean in the draft. That means now. I believe the quarterback for the future could be on this roster. I believe that. Could be. We haven't seen it. I don't know. I go by what I've seen from Gabriel. I don't know. Those are yet to be determined. However, when we're looking at the future, here's a teaser for our next podcast. I have a guy. I have identified a guy. Now, I will say, I like a lot of quarterbacks, like you said, Tristan, in this draft. And we're going to talk about that extensively as the season comes to a close into the offseason. But I'll say this. If I could have things go the way I ideally wanted it, I don't know. I don't know if I want Kevin, being the one for my next quarterback.
Yeah.
It's a tough question. But do I care? Yeah, I care. I'm pissed off. It's bullshit. It's bullshit that for so long this fan base has had to endure hell. And it's bullshit. You know what's bullshit? It's bullshit that there's people out here who go to work and they're miserable and they have a terrible situation, right? Or somebody comes home and their home life is terrible, right? And their one distraction, the one thing that they want to have some sort of joy for them, is a consistent cycle of bullshit year in and year out. Tristan, we were having these same conversations year after year after year. I mean, we can pull an episode from 2019 and it would sound just like the one we're having right now. And it pisses me off because we don't deserve it as a fan base, don't deserve it as a city. But this organization,
yeah,
it just pisses me off.
Yeah. I feel you there. Because the other thing that, I think that the thing that people also have to come to terms with is, if you're keeping Andrew Berry, if you're keeping Kevin Stefanski, in particular, especially with Kevin Stefanski, for next year, you have to keep him for at least another year after that. Because your rookie quarterback does not deserve to have to go through a whole nother offense going into his second year.
Cam Ward.
Yes, Cam Ward. It's going to be similar to that. Caleb with first name I forgot, Johnson.
Glenn, is that right? Glenn Johnson? I don't know why.
No.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Wow, I can't believe that we're forgetting his
Ben Johnson?
Yes,
I
Ben
thought you were talking
Johnson.
about
Caleb.
Okay, never mind.
No, sorry. Caleb with Ben Johnson. That's gone okay. But again, he shouldn't have been put in that situation in the first place, which, oddly enough, if you look back at the Bears quarterback chain, Trubisky had, after his first year, his head coach fired. Fields, after his first year, his head coach fired. Same thing with Caleb. We'll see how it pans out. But your next guy that you get has to come into a situation that's stable.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you're going to give him the best possible chance to succeed, because Josh Allen was a project, Lamar Jackson was a project. You know what those guys had? They had stability, and they had the opportunity to learn to grow. Patrick Mahomes was a project. He came in, had stability, had a chance to grow and learn. And that for me is where this all lies, is what are you doing to ensure that your quarterback is coming in with the best possible chance to succeed? And if you think that that's moving on from Kevin and having a new guy come in, that's great. If you think that Kevin deserves at least one more year. Well, you're going to have to say Kevin deserves at least 2 more years because that gives your quarterback the best chance to succeed. So that's where it's tricky. But
it's tough because I think we are at a weird point, and I'll finish up with this. And I know I said we need to talk about the Campbell trade, but we're gonna have to shift some things to our next show.
Yeah.
But this is what I'll say in wrapping up. The most frustrating part about being a Browns fan to me right now is the fact that you had a taste. You had a taste of the hope. We had 2020, right? We thought that was the step to sustained success. It wasn't, right? Everything fell apart. We know what all happened. We know. There's no point in repeating everything again and again and again. But what is so frustrating is the fact that we were at that point. We were here. We were on our way up, and then it just tanked. And I understand that these guys, everybody, I get it. They're not in an easy situation, right? If you made me general manager tomorrow, I'm not saying that I have the answers and I could figure it all out. I'm not saying that. However, what I am saying is it's frustrating when the guys that we had so much hope for and so much promise for, all of a sudden we're sitting here now 5 or 6 years later talking about what reasons do we have to keep them. I said it on a podcast we did a couple weeks ago. When you have no faith, hope is your only option. And the problem that we have right now is, what hope do we have? The hope that we have is the future. But what is the future? Who's the future? Who's going to be deciding the future? Right? These are the critical questions that we don't know. We don't have answers to, other than the one that you pointed. Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam. Which, by the way, I'll throw this last little nugget in here. The dome has begun. And if you think that they care about anything other than having a successful team by 29, you're wrong. They don't care about winning a Super Bowl next year or in 2 years. They care about putting butts in seats in 2029 and shining their fancy new dome, which, by the way, I will be the first one to tell you I am super excited. It is one of the only things, Tristan, that is making me excited for the future of this team. I'll be honest. But from an organizational standpoint, as a fan base, as people like me and you, Tristan, there are many of us at home. We have to understand what this is. And it's a shit show, to simply put. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I got one last thing before I sign off, because you talking about the taste of success, right? That 2020 season. The following year, week 1, against the Kansas City Chiefs, Browns played against the Chiefs, and last offensive drive, Baker got tripped up by his feet while he was trying to throw a ball out of bounds, and it got picked off to end the game. And mic'd up moment after the game, Patrick Mahomes goes over to Baker Mayfield, shakes his hand, and he says, we'll see you again.
Yep.
We'll see y'all again. We haven't been seen since.
Nope.
So.
Nope. Frustrating times. And I want to tell, I would love, and here, oh my gosh, dude, I gotta shut up, but I would love to sit here and tell everybody, have hope. Like, we have 2 first-round picks. Listen, I will. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to pound the table on some guys in this draft that I will put my stamp on and say, these are must-have guys. Like, you have got to do something. And I already gave one away. Cardinal Tate.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to get any disagreement, from really anybody out there about that. But I'm sorry, like, simply to put, to me, to you, to everybody as fans, I'm sorry. Because we don't deserve to go through this shit year in and year out. But I will also say I remember being young and thinking, I'll probably never see the Detroit Lions be good, and here we are. So, and that's not even that far away from me thinking that, we're not far away from the terrible, terrible Lions teams. I don't know, whatever. I'm done. I hate it. Anyway, if you're still watching at this point, thank you for watching. Let us know what you think. If you care to drop a comment, would be greatly appreciated. I don't even want to say go Browns, go Cavs. Hopefully they can do something because the Browns cannot. See you in the next one, everybody.